Without further ado, time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time
for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA
I need
fans.
to stretch. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived to hear from the man himself, Ariel Helwani. Live from the Box Studios in beautiful New York City.
I can't touch my toes. I should probably be able to.
answer your questions.
Yes,
Get
thank
out
you,
of your
Mike Heck.
seats and on your feet because here he is, Ariel
Yes, here I am.
Helwani.
That is me. Time now for everyone. Yes, thank you, Tucker. Great work on your part. Time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time for On the Nose. Shout out to the Adelaide Crows for their nice merch. How are the Toffees doing? Are they doing okay? I mean, everyone was giving me crap. Everton 2-1 at halftime. Perfect. Okay. So let us go to the questions now. You know where to send them. By now, it's pretty much too late. 151. I do believe that is a record. How many of those are courtesy of McBean? We shall find out. ArielHelwani.substack.com is where you left them. And without further ado, it is the one and only El Cubano leading us off. Now, I owe El Cubano an apology. El Cubano, I read his question first last week, and for whatever reason, I totally botched it. Actually, GC and I botched it. We were talking about Amanda Nunes. He was talking about Valentina Shevchenko. So I'm going to read this one slowly. Hola, Ariel. Assuming Sterling Yan 2 gets done early next year, we hope, and we got a bit of an update there. I both agree and like your idea of the winner of Font Aldo facing off with TJ Dillashaw for a rightful #1 contenders match. By the way, how does this guy send the questions so quickly? He beats everyone to the punch. It's amazing. Anyway, he's always first. I wonder if he writes the question. Next week, can you tell us, do you write the question the night before and you set an alarm? Like, how do you get this done? How do you make it happen? Is it more likely we see the loser of Font Aldo face off against Corey Sandhagen, Merab Dawalishvili, or our guy Chico? Wow, Viva Helwani. I mean, all three of those. I'm guessing most likely Sandhagen because they typically, not always, but typically like to match guy coming off a loss, guy coming off the loss. Dawalishvili on a roll, Cheeto on a roll. I mean, I like the idea of Cheeto versus Dawalishvili. So I'll say Sandhagen. A lot of replies here. Okay. Yes, McBean chimes in. I'll give him a couple. He goes, Hola El Cubans. Glad to be back for another segment of On the Nose. The winner of Sterling versus Yan will determine if TJ gets the shot or has to face the winner of Font versus Aldo first. My 2 cents from a 40-year-old casual fan. Killishaw chimes in. If I had your MMA intellect, people respect me too, Mr. Bean. I mean, there's all kinds of love. All kinds of love here. Okay, going back to the questions. I got into a rabbit hole. Here is the aforementioned Killishaw, who's a bit, I mean, he's a legend online, a positive troll, but I feel like sometimes he pushes the boundaries a little too much. Hi, I'm a new user of this app. Not sure if I believe that, but anyway. Have started enjoying your segment with GC. One thing I observe all the time in brackets, which feels a little passive-aggressive, is you rarely understand what GC is saying whenever he talks parlays or hedges. You always respond with Thanksgiving or Christmas stories, or just exclaim, oh yes, makes sense, could not agree more. Could you share some insight and clear the air? P.S. Please tell GC hi. He'll know what I'm saying. He also then says, yes, beat El Cubano to be first, but actually he didn't. And then they go back and forth to decide who was first, but in the end, it was El Cubano. Now, I don't feel like this is fair. Do you feel, GC, like all I add to your segment is, oh yes, makes sense, could not agree more? Of course I know what you're talking about, but this is your time to shine.
Yeah, I mean, he said hi. I know what he's talking about. I mean, Killishaw, we're on the same wavelengths.
Wow. Okay, so you think I offer nothing? I'm
I think you're good. I think it's like you don't give picks. You like that's what you do. You won't even bet on your own teams.
No, I don't bet on my teams.
You were about to make that friendly wager earlier. I was hurt.
Yeah, no, I was trying to do it. He came on the show, but like in the end, and he's not going to text me. We all know that. But look,
Killishaw though, great points.
Here's the thing. You notice I'm putting these big name guests in your segment to boost the segment. I don't know if you realize that. I'm trying to give it the old rub.
Yeah.
So I don't appreciate that or the insinuation by Killshot that I'm either not paying attention or don't understand what's going on. In any event, Carmine says, Goat Wani, my man, I hope you had a great week, mate. Thank you. Hope you did as well. 2 quick questions this week. 1, normally fighters, when asked about their pay, give a vague answer like, I'm getting taken care of. Or, I'm making more money in this fight than my past fights. With the continued dispute over fighter pay, wouldn't it help all fighters to know exactly what everyone is getting paid similar to the NBA and NFL so they can leverage off each other and get better deals when they negotiate their new contracts? Of course. Now, the best managers know, and I can understand someone not wanting to talk about how much they make. You know, I'm not sitting here talking about my pay, although it's different in sports. The notion, though, that the reason why they don't want this money out there, these numbers out there, these figures out there, is because they don't want hanger-oners to come and leech off of them is absolutely ludicrous. Because as we know, the likes of Kevin Durant and LeBron James and Steph Curry and Tom Brady and name a famous athlete, they all have their salaries to a penny out there, including their endorsements. So trust me, it ain't that much different. In fact, it's only dramatically different for the fighters. They're not making as much. If those guys can handle it, I think these guys can handle it. But, there's secrecy. Heck, I ask people how many fights you signed for, less these days, and they get all defensive about it. I'm like, yo, I'm just asking you how many fights. Or you get pay-per-view points? Not. These things I think are important. I do think they are important. But it's like the fight announcements. Like, really, what's the big deal? I'm fighting this guy on February 12th. Okay, great. Why is it so secret? I don't know. Who has been more of a distraction to their kids' careers? LeVar Ball or Lopez Sr.? Teofimo Lopez Sr. I mean, I feel like Teofimo Lopez accomplished more than the Ball brothers, right? I mean, he won all those belts. LeVar has taken a step back, but I'll still say LeVar, I think they got off on the wrong foot. Lopez accomplished more. You got to give Lopez Sr. the credit there. Ariel, please take me behind the curtain and tell me what the production crew does. Some of my favorite podcasts have their production crews interact with the host, and some even have cameras on them while they speak. And they all seem like friends, yours included. What are those guys up to back there? Tell me. Wow, great question. We have a TD. I hope I'm getting that correct. Today it's Tucker, who does a fantastic job for us. New-ish addition to the team. We have an audio technician. Is that the right? Frank, we're here. Audio mixer, okay. Frank would be all over this question. I mean, he would love this. Of course, we have GC back there, who's, producer extraordinaire. He's getting all our graphics, all our B-roll, his segment ready, all that stuff. Of course, we have Joe, who is the MVP of the bunch, in my opinion, because he has to track down these crazy fighters who sometimes are no-shows. And that's not a fun job. Just ask New York Rick, who had to do it for many years. Of course, we have Alex, corporate Alex back there, who really is the leader of the bunch and who drives the ship, is driving a ship. No, you kind of you steer the ship, I would say, in the right direction with all the technical stuff, the YouTube stuff. I mean, here I am completely removed from all of them, speaking on their behalf, but I feel like that's the general gist. On Monday, of course, we have Mr. Monday Afternoon, MMA, New York Rick, who really has nothing to do with the show anymore other than the social assets, which are a huge part of the show. But as far as the actual production of said show. And then we have people from, other places. Yep, there he is, nowhere to be found. It is, that's probably my favorite Wednesday bit, nowhere to be found. He's at home doing God knows what. Instagramming, tweeting, and whatnot. But yeah, that's the general gist. It's a great team. Dare I say the best team that we've had working on this show in the history of the show, believe it or not. In the past, we sometimes had people who I felt didn't really want to be doing this for one reason or another. I don't feel like there's anyone here who doesn't want to be doing this, who's not invested, who's not all in. And the show doesn't happen without them. So I'm very, very appreciative. Killshot chimes in. Of course, his favorite is Srinivas. And he loves him. He's always talking about him. Srinivas, You got Miles back there. Yes? Someone want to say something? No. All right. Srinivas is the man. He helped us get those cameras back there, the mics back there. Just tremendous stuff. Okay. I'm trying to get to all the questions and not so much the replies. I appreciate the replies amongst everyone very much, but I'm just trying to hit the questions here. Hi, Ariel, from my good friend Angie. Happy Hanukkah. We currently only have one Dutch fighter in the UFC, and that's Jermaine Durandamy. Have you heard of the new Dutch promotion Levels Fight League? I think they could be an incubator for new Dutch UFC fighters. Yeah, it is crazy. And Jermaine hasn't fought in quite some time. And there was a report that she was removed from the rankings. It is a little shocking considering the rich history of fighting, either MMA or kickboxing. But these things go in waves. You know, there was a period where people said like Irish MMA was no more. And now I feel like Irish MMA is coming back and Brazilian MMA is no more. And even Canadian MMA has suffered, you know, a bit of a downturn, if you will, in terms of not a lot of great prospects. So it's all cyclical and they'll be back. I'm not very familiar with Levels Fight League, but I will check them out. And yes, I do think it helps when there is a local promotion, building talent, helping talent evolve. That's very important. Zach, happy Hanukkah, Ariel. My question for you this week is, where's Megan Anderson? Since her loss to Amanda in March and her contract ending, she hasn't said a single thing about fighting. Okay. I'm going to skip the line here, but I appreciate it. I wouldn't be surprised if Megan doesn't fight again. She might come back. She is not officially retired from what I'm told, but I also wouldn't be surprised if she's moved on. I know PFL was interested. I know Bellator was interested. I know she's doing some movie work. I know she does stuff online. She does some stuff for ESPN. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes in a different direction. This week's handicapped hot take for you, and it's coming from a Justin Gaethje fan. It's crazy he is being talked about as the #1 contender. He won a close decision fight over someone who just lost to the champ after being subbed by Khabib. I don't see as the #1 contender. He should fight the loser of the title fight in December. All right, so then who fights the champ? The winner of Dariush Makhachev? I mean, I guess you could do that. I just think that win over Chandler was huge. It was fun. A win over Khabib is, you know, you kind of have to just throw it out. Other than that, he's won, I think, 5 in a row. His last loss was to Dustin Poirier, of course, other than the Khabib fight. You let Makhachev and Dariush figure it out. Someone who wins that fight emerges, and then they're next. And it's a nice little neat package. So I don't mind it. Quick and simple, Ariel, at heavyweight, who wins? Jon Jones or your friendly foe DC? At heavyweight, I think you have to go with DC because he's proven at that weight class. Hey, Ariel, do you have any martial arts experience yourself? Is it something you want to expose your kids to? I would love to... my kids have done a little bit of martial arts, and then once I was starting to get them into it, COVID happened, and that was obviously a weird time. I've talked about this before, and actually the last couple of days I've been really jonesing for it. I was boxing for a year right up until the pandemic, and then I stopped, obviously, and I would love to get back. I'm just, you know, with kids and school and the job and the shows, you know, I'm trying to be as smart as possible, so I'm doing the workouts at home, but I would love to get back. I really enjoyed boxing many moons ago. I'm talking over a decade ago in New York City. I was doing some jiu-jitsu, and I enjoyed it. Did a couple of Muay Thai stuff. Didn't love it as much. I really love the boxing. Like I was going 2-3 times a week religiously. And so I would like to go back to doing that. And I was even like in my mind saying like, oh, one day I'll just do like one smoker thing just for fun, just to feel what it was like. But now I probably suck. And I did suck back then, just to be honest. But I was feeling it. I was getting good on the speed bag. I was doing the heavy bag. I was doing everything. Now I know my actions right here aren't emblematic of someone who was training, but trust me, I was putting in the work. So I'd like to do it. I'd like to go back and do it. And I will go back and do it. I promise. Favorite segment of the week from Patrick. 2 quick questions. How often do you get recognized in public? And do other parents ever chat with you about upcoming fights? I mean, when it's a fight week, I'm at an event, obviously you get recognized. I don't mind it. I love it. When you're in the bubble, so to speak, at the arena, whatever, When I was at Wrestling with my kids, Survivor Series, I was actually surprised how many people, because usually when it's wrestling, I feel like I don't get recognized as much, but I was, and that was cool. I loved it. Nice to get the love from Brooklyn. I talked to the parents a lot about it. Some of them know before, some of them know after. It's just a fun job I'm lucky to have. And, you know, everyone wants to talk about sports and fighting and the characters. So, yeah, I don't mind it. There are times where you go, you know, let's say you're going out for dinner or you're at a birthday party and you kind of just don't want to talk about it. But it's never to the point where I'm flooded with questions or bothered. So I really don't mind. Is there someone you follow on IG that you would join their live? Is there someone you follow on IG that you would join their live? Yeah, sure. 1,000 people. 2,000 people. I follow a lot of interesting people on IG, and I would love to join their live. There was a period there for like the first 2 weeks of the pandemic where I felt like you'd go to the top of your IG where the stories are, and there was like 13 lives. You remember that? Everyone was doing them. It actually wasn't bad. But then I think everyone got tired of them. My man, Luis Gilmore. Let's play fantasy booking, but for a combat sports broadcast team. Your all-time dream lineup for the following positions. MC for weigh-ins. Wow. MC for weigh-ins. Let me read all of them so I know. MC for weigh-ins, host for press conference, ring announcer, commentary team, on the desk, backstage reporters. Any other position you can think of? Feel free to choose yourself as many times. God, that's tough. I'll go, okay, weigh-ins, I'll go John Anik because he does the best at pronouncing names. Host for press conference. I mean, I think I did a pretty damn good job myself, if you ask me. But I'm not going to name myself for any of these. I mean, that would be a little unbecoming. Host for press conference. That's a good one. I don't know if there is. I mean, you know what I think does a great job for press conference? Eddie Hearn. I think he does a great job at the press conference. I mean, I think he's the best promoter right now. He's doing a great job in combat. Eddie Hearn. I enjoy watching him work. So I'll go Eddie Hearn. Ring announcer. I'll go Bruce Buffer, the man. Commentary team. How many are on comms? So I feel like Luis is... Lewis, I keep messing that up. Lewis is European / British because he said how many are on comms. It's a very British way of saying things. Who are you picking? I'm going with Mauro Ranallo as my play-by-play guy. I'm going with for color. That's a tough one. I kind of like two. There's some good ones in the UFC. I'll go with Moro, DC, and Cruz because I'm trying not to use the same person twice. Backstage reporter, I'll go with Laura Sanko. On the desk, I mean, the desk is like, I don't want the desk a part of the broadcast before and after. When they go to the desk on Bellator during the broadcast, it's like, or whatever the sound is of the tire screeching. It just slows everything. But I think Anthony Smith does a great job. Bisping does a great job. Woodley does a great job. And that's that. Good question. Happy Wednesday, Ariel. John Wayne Parr came up in conversation on a previous show when you were discussing one of Brad Riddell's past fights. Yes. I would love to see the legendary gunslinger on your show. My question for you: what would it take for you to switch from Adelaide Crows to the Collingwood Magpies? Never. I'm a Crow for life. Dear Ariel from Abhisek, amongst the following, who do you think has the best chance to recapture gold by the end of 2022? Davison Figueiredo, Max Holloway, Robert Whittaker, Jan Blachowicz, Stipe Miocic, or Aljamain Sterling? Ha! Figueiredo, Holloway, Whittaker, Jan, Stipe. Gosh, tough. I'll go with either Holloway or Figueiredo because they're actually going to fight for the belt. And who is the better man? I'll go with Figueiredo. Better chance. Amongst the following, who do you think has the best chance to capture gold by the end of 2022? Valentina 135, Alexandre Pantoja, Giga Chikadze, Islam Makhachev, Khamzat Shamaev, Jon Jones, Paulo Costa. Also tough. I'll go with Islam. Fun one, your wildest prank. Man, I'm not a big prankster. I feel like I could think of one, and I'm gonna blank. I don't know. You stumped me on that one. Don't divulge that Jedi Goodman is your alias. He is not my alias. I don't have a burner. I promise. Hey, Thug Nose, for the uneducated, can you explain how good Don Fry was? Man, that guy was as tough as they come. Oh my gosh, Don Fry, I mean, just a man's man. When you look up man in the dictionary, Don Fry is the guy who comes up. He's got the voice, he's got the mustache, he's got the crazy fights. Don Fry was a legend. Of course, that amazing scene in Pride with Takayama, them going crazy. I mean, just incredible. Don Fry, yeah, all-American legend. Super tough. One of the OGs of the game. Much respect to him. Hey, Ariel. From Lior, my good friend, my chevre. Happy Wednesday and happy Hanukkah. Hope you light the candles every day. I do. With the shocking release of Kevin Lee, remind me that Dana White quote, "It's not a career, it's an opportunity." What is your thoughts on that? Bonus question, where's Chael Sonnen fit into this? As a friend, you should check on him as well. Only love from Israel. Listen, I was talking, look, the Kevin Lee thing, it's surprising, but it's not surprising, and I'll tell you why. So yes, is he on a losing streak? Yes, but there's guys in the UFC who are on much bigger losing streaks, and they're not being cut. Did he recently pop for USADA? Yes. But that suspension is coming up, and it wasn't the biggest deal. It wasn't an actual steroid, even something that you could deem a PD, Adderall, ADHD, all that stuff. I mean, come on, we've seen way worse. None of that really is coming into play here. I think there's a few factors that could be coming into play here. Number one, Francis Ngannou and his manager, Markel Martin, aren't in the best graces of the UFC right now. This is the inside baseball that no one else wants to talk to you about, but I'll talk to you about it. There's CAA guys, including Kevin Lee. CAA, Endeavor have never seen eye to eye. Now, are there CAA guys like George St. Pierre who the UFC does business with? Yes. But of course, there are guys who they're going to do business with because they have to do business with because they're their big stars. And there's others who are more expendable. Francis, at the moment, is not expendable. Kevin Lee is expendable. And so he might be a victim in all of this, and that's very unfortunate. Sometimes we've seen some shocking releases, and it's like, hey, JDS didn't want to fight this guy, that guy already. He's on a losing streak. He's making a lot of money. Time to cut bait. That wasn't the case with Kevin Lee. And so one could only hypothesize that all the drama with Markel, Markel is the manager for Francis and Kevin Lee, among others, and he had that somewhat public back and forth with Dana on social media where, they booked that fight with Ciryl Gane and Derek Lewis for the interim title, and it got a little messy, and Francis has talked about a situation. Next year is going to be super interesting for Francis Ngannou. My understanding is if Francis Ngannou loses that fight to Ciryl Gane, he's a free agent. And if he wins that fight, he's a free agent at the end of the year. Heavyweight champ. Even if he loses, let's say he loses a decision, because I don't think he gets knocked out by Ciryl. I mean, there's still a lot of value in Francis Ngannou. So they're sort of betting on themselves there. So it's a super interesting situation. Hello. Oh, you just lit the candles? Is that what just happened?
Yep. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. I hope you did the prayers. Appreciate you very much. Happy Hanukkah to all of you as well. Yeah, Kevin Lee. It's a very unfortunate situation, but it's not the first time that someone who's associated to someone who they're not. Listen, the UFC has their favorites as far as managers go, and they have their not-so-favorites. And they make life difficult for the not-so-favorites. They could do business with whomever they want. They could choose to do business with you or not with you, talk to you, not you. That's just the way it goes. And trust me, every manager has felt it. Even the ones who are in their good graces right now, they've felt it. Out of their good graces. I mean, it's a political minefield. It really is. And you got to play the game right. And if you play the game right, then your fighters are going to get opportunities, and maybe they're not get the most amount of money, but they're going to get more opportunities. I mean, if you're butting heads, You'll eventually maybe get the money, but it might be short-lived because they'll remember it. I mean, it's just a political minefield. I wouldn't want that job for a gazillion dollars. Tough one. I think Kevin Lee was caught up in all of that, if I'm being honest. Now, I don't know if anyone's going to admit this to all of us, but like that's the real truth. That's a shoot, brother. Ariel, how does someone like Kevin Lee get cut when they still roster fighters like Sam Alvey, who hasn't won in 8 fights? I just explained it. All respect to Alvey, but those are just the facts. I feel like Kevin Lee still has a few great fights left in him. Yes, he does. He's 29, and I can guarantee you right now, he will make more money outside of the UFC. There is a demand for people like him. He's still young. He's still talented. And right now, with the Trillers, with the PFLs, with the Bellators, with the One Championships, it's not the worst thing in the world to be a young fighter, still under 30, still somewhat in your prime, available to work. There's money to be made. There's money to be made. And I think he'll make money. In 5 years' time, what major changes do you see in the UFC/MMA? Example, Ali Act, new promotions, rule changes, innovation, collective bargaining, new president. I mean, the biggest one would be collective bargaining. Heck, we don't even have to talk about a union, an association, just a collective voice. That would be huge. Would love to see that happen. Ariel, you raised an interesting theory on Kevin Lee's manager potentially playing a factor in him being cut. My question to you is, what are the managers on the inside getting from the UFC? Is there anything other than the opportunities for their fighters? Example, kickbacks on the side. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't think it's any kickbacks or anything like that. But, you know, it's politics. And if you can get in their good graces, and if you could do some things for them. I mean, I told the story one time of a fighter who was having trouble coming to terms with the UFC, and then all of a sudden another manager shows up in their hometown. They don't even live there, at a lunch with their client who's a friend of that manager, is like, hey, if we could get this deal done, you know, they'll keep you around. This stuff is happening. It's the Wild West. I mean, how about the fact that there are managers who run promotions? How about the fact that there are managers who are running promotions who, you know, you got managers running promotions, signing fighters, and then getting them into the UFC, and then managing those fighters once they get into the UFC. So they're signing them to managerial deals while they're fighting for their promotion, and then they're still repping them outside of the UFC. That is not allowed in the sport of boxing. That's one of the many things the Ali Act oversees. MMA, as I've said time and again, is in the leather helmet days. We are going to look back on this time in 20, 30 years and be like, wow, things were different. It's getting older, it's growing, it's evolving, but I mean, there's pretty much no regulation other than the actual commissions. But in terms of the sport, like they're overseeing the rules, the fights, the events, but in terms of the sport, the structure of the sport, the checks and balances, the you know, whether things are on the up and up and kosher, it's the Wild West. I'm perplexed as to why these managers who supposedly have their fighters' best interests at heart are not negotiating better terms for the fighter with UFC. Because at the end of the day, it's in their best interest to be in the good graces of the UFC. At the end of the day, if you have a roster of 100 guys and you're constantly butting heads with the UFC, 50 guys, 40 guys, 30 guys, I mean, yeah, I mean, like if you're constantly butting heads with them, it's going to get hard. It's going to be hard to get things done. And so if maybe you don't push so much, fight so much, but stay in their good graces, maybe you're not getting guys who are getting the most, but they're going to do business with you and you'll be in a good spot. And so that's why I feel like some of these guys are more concerned with their relationship, because at some point this fighter is going to be done, he's going to retire, he's going to get cut, whatever. You still have to stick there and do business. So yeah, that is problematic. It is problematic to have all these fighters, because at the end of the day, if I'm one fighter out of the 50 with multiple guys in my weight class, I'm thinking to myself, well, at the end of the day, are they fighting for my best interests? Are they foxholing it with me? Are they truly going to battle for me? Or are they concerned about their relationship, their standing when I'm done? Tough spot. Perfect world, you get like one, you have a manager who represents one person, two people. I know that's not ideal and not really realistic, but that would be the perfect scenario if you ask me. Chael P and DC hanging off a cliff. You can only save one. Who are you saving and why? I mean, come on. Why would you say that? I save them both. I throw myself off so they can live. Apology if this post multiple times. This website keeps doing weird things. With Hooker considering a potential move to featherweight, how would that play in with the fact that one of his training partners, Alex Volkanovski, is the current champion? Here's the thing. I've seen people say this, and I even saw some people say, like, how could you not ask Hooker about this? Can Dan Hooker win a fight at 145 before we start bothering him and Volkanovski about this? Yes, I know it's something to talk about. Volkanovski's the champion. He's got all these guys like Max Holloway and Giga Chikadze and God knows who else who's coming up, Zabit if he comes back, blah, blah, blah. Hooker has to win a few fights before they have to worry about that problem. Why are you guys worrying about this now? What's up, Ariel? Only question I have is, can you ask DC if he can get more fighters added to the UFC video game? I have a secret for all of you. He doesn't decide. He just has a sponsorship deal, and he talks about the ratings, and maybe he has a say in the ratings, but do you really think he decides who's in the game? Come on, guys. Don't be marks. Can we expect a 2021 MMA tribute song later this month? Last year's tune to Auld Lang Syne was great. For all the acquaintance be forgot, and then you want them all. No, I think I'm done with that. That was pretty much an ESPN thing. It takes a lot of time to do that. I don't really feel like doing it. I've got enough. Once we get to the holidays, I'm out of here. Hi, Ariel. It seems that after you called out the ESPN MMA guys for not crediting sources, they appear to be doing it now. Ramundi actually does it in his tweets, but your best bud will add it to his tweet but not have it in the first tweet. Some don't read the subtweets, so it seems like he's giving credit, but not because it's in the first tweet. You think they changed their policy? I don't know. I don't know. I noticed the second tweet thing. They do it a lot in baseball, by the way. I mean, not my thing. Look, if there's not enough characters, I get it. But more often than not, there are enough characters. That's not on me. You go ask other people why they're doing that. I know there are people out there that want to make me out to be a bad guy, this and that. Oh, you're playing. I have never had a problem crediting. In fact, I have never understood why that is a weird thing to people, honestly. Now, if it's like a minute apart, 2 minutes apart, you're both working on it, all right, fine. But if it's like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I've never understood that. Never understood it. You think that someone's going to go click on that other person's link and be like, this is my new favorite journalist? Who cares? Never understood it. Not necessarily a question, but more of I'm stoked to finally be a part of this. I've been a fan for maybe 7-8 months. I don't miss a minute of your MMA Hour shows. Tight schedule, but I managed to finish each show before the next one comes. You're just a really great guy. Thank you. And I respect and admire you. Love how informative and entertaining you are. I've struggled with mental health, as we all have, so I can appreciate when you talk about those topics. Thank you. Love your shows. Each show that passes, I become more of a fan. Thank you. Now I can ask questions. And you're doing a bang-up job. Wow, this is amazing. Roki, you're the man. I appreciate you very much. Ariel, any update on your potential role for Paul Fury? Yes. As I said earlier, I'll be doing the face-to-face stuff on the Thursday. I'll be working the weigh-in on the Friday. And then for the event, I will be doing the in-ring post-fight interviews, which I'm super psyched about, and the backstage locker room interviews too, which I'm very excited about as well. There's going to be some interesting people there. Tyson Fury in the house, Nate Diaz in the house. What's going to happen? I'm looking forward to that. Any update on Anderson Silva boxing again? No, but I'll look into it. Any update on Hasbulla fighting? No, I'd be very surprised if that happens. Out of all the new up-and-comers, who are you most excited for? Ooh, wow. I think Ian Gary has a very bright future. Your favorite Canadian MOT and Crows fan here. Pretty sure I'm the only one, so we'll crown myself your favorite. I will give you a moment to correct what happened last week where you couldn't find your Crows jersey to display proudly and put it on for the rest of the show. It's right there. Wanted to wish you a happy Hanukkah and get your thoughts on whether you'd be open to doing some booth work for the new World Fight League. Not going to lie, wondering if you have all the first scoops on the league because you will be a part of it. No, that is not true. I might have some more on them next week. Look, the one thing I love about boxing and these opportunities are you don't have to work for the promotion to work on the broadcast. Unfortunately, in MMA, you have to work for the promotion to be on the broadcast. And I don't feel comfortable with that. So I wouldn't look for that. But I wish them the best, and I hope that they launch in 2023. Who wins, Bob Sapp or Bombardier? In their prime, Bob Sapp. Oh, here's Killishaw. The name is Thug Nose. The inspiration, Thug Rose. He hands out 10-7 doughs to all his fellow foes who now work at Trader Joe's, but that's just the way it goes. You're his friend, he knows, so it's okay if your curiosity grows. He has large eyebrows, not relevant, but rhyming, so added. Wow. Not very nice. Ariel, what are your thoughts on all the changes to the Habs management in the last week? I think it's long overdue. Bergevin got a little more, leeway after the great run last summer. Time for a change. Thought it was interesting that they got rid of the media guy as well, the PR guy, Wilson. Do you like Jeff Molson as owner of the team? I think he's cool. I think he has shown that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the Canadians back on top. I think it's really interesting that Patrick Roy has thrown his name into the hat. Usually I don't love when they try to go the nostalgic route. I just want the best guy for the job. The part that drives me nuts about Montreal is, and in particular the Canadians, they need a general manager who's bilingual. And I get it. It's Quebec. It's Quebec's team. You need someone who speaks French and English. But at this point in 2021, you get a tremendous translator and you get the best man or woman for the job. The best candidate. I don't care where they're from. I don't care what they speak. Heck, I don't care if they speak freaking Spanish. I don't care if they don't know how to speak English or French. Get the best person for the job. Enough of this politics. Oh, the captain has to speak both. Oh, the GM, the coach. They're never going to realize their potential if that's the way they're going to go about things. When are we going to see the Helwani NFT collection? I have none. People have reached out to me about it, but I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it right now. Shalom, questions for Frank. And he's not even here. What is it like to be the unsung hero of the show? What is the best MCU movie in your opinion? I don't even know what MCU stands for. Does anyone back there know what MCU stands for?
I think that stands for Marvel.
Poor Frank.
Universe.
Left us high and dry. Oh. Hey, Ariel. Out of all the people that are not on speaking terms with you or vice versa, which one bums you out the most? I imagine not people you'd consider have questionable character, but one where it's just a misunderstanding gone wrong with a good person. Killshot writes Man Miller, but we're not on bad terms. I will say there's not many. Where I feel like, but like obviously you don't want to have any beef with anyone. I'd correct all of it right now, but like think about how many fighters are in the sport, how many managers, how many officials, and there's like two, literally two that won't talk to me, that I can't, pick up the phone right now. I can't pick up the phone right now and speak to this. This is the problem is when I pick up the phone, I see all this other stuff. And speak to these people. Two. I mean, that's a percentage of like 0.000001. So I'm good. Right now, I'm good. That could change, but right now I feel like I'm good. Hey, from Kamloops, BC, When are you getting Khamzat on? I've been trying to get Khamzat on, but and you know, he's not a dominance guy, but it's just been tough. He doesn't do a lot of media. I've been trying. I will keep trying. On that note, what are we doing to mend the Colby beef? Oh yeah, the Colby one bums me out just because I went to bat for him so many times, and I have nothing. I mean, like, I didn't love the way he promoted the Woodley fight, but that one is kind of weird to me. So maybe I'll say Colby. What are we doing? I'm not doing much. Last time I sent him a text was several months ago. I don't want to be the guy who's texting him while he's, you know, about to fight for the belt or after the belt or right before the title fight. So I don't get it. I don't. But, you know, these things are going to happen. Shalom again. Non-frank question. How does the stuff with Ali and dominance get resolved? This show's obviously doing well, but I'd be remiss to say that interviews with Usman Gaethje would be awesome. How do you feel about those kinds of interviews being white whales currently? I mean, trust me, we got a lot of people to talk to. Would I like to talk to those guys? Of course. But I want to talk to people who want to be here, who want to be on the show. And if they don't want to be on the show, then God bless. A few more. Hey, Ariel, 2 quick questions. What are the chances that the March 19th event in London is made a pay-per-view? Not hearing that. So, yeah, Leon Edwards, Usman, not going to happen. Is there a chance we see Ian Gary on the card? Yeah, I think there could be a strong chance that happens. Have you listened to your fellow Thugs debut album, Pasture Fire? Yes, Thug Nasty. It's tremendous. How do you rate it? An 11 on 10. Good morning, Ariel from Idaho. When Conor does return, do you think that'll even be bigger than when you return against Cerrone? No, because there were a couple losses since then. But I think it's always going to be big. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. He's still a massive draw, so I think it's going to be massive. Bigger than Cerrone? I don't know. But it's going to be big. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be a year plus since his last fight. Ariel, it has been well documented the success the UFC is having by using the Apex for Fight Night. I know everyone wants Fight Nights back on the road. I do think this will happen going forward at some point. My 2 questions. Do you think Fight Nights will continue to be at the Apex on occasion, even when they start going on the road again? Yes. With the success of the Apex in Las Vegas, any chance the UFC would open a similar Apex in China or Europe? Great question. Haven't heard that. But that would be a great thing to invest in. I love that. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah. Would make life easier. Especially in Europe. P.S. Pasture Fire is the album of the year. Need that Thug Nose, Thug Nasty collabo. Amen. Hello, Helwani. Excluding Conor, which active MMA fighter has so far managed their career the best to maximize income and exposure? Wow. I think Izzy's done a great job. I think later in his career, Nate has done a great job. I think Max Holloway has done a great job as of late. I think Masvidal has done a great job as of late. Ronda obviously did a great job. There are some that aren't doing a great job, that aren't capitalizing. I'm not going to throw shade, but there are a lot of fighters out there that I don't think are... Stipe, I think, did a great job capitalizing on their success and their marketability at this juncture in their lives, because it's a small window of opportunity. Did you know that Andy Foster of the CSAC is a retired fighter? Yes. And is 7-2 as a pro? Yes. And 6-0 as an AMI? Yes. I did know that. And I think that's why he's the best in the business. I've seen Colby Covington be on everyone in the Mama's MMA show. Why hasn't he been on the MMA Hour? Ask him. Mad at me. I think he's mad at me for something I said on DC and Helwani, and yet he talks to DC, and DC agreed with me. All I had the audacity of saying was the Black Lives Matter stuff was a little too much in the buildup to the Tyron Woodley fight. And what I find so interesting about that was, and I stand by it, if you're going to play the heel and be sensitive about things that is that benign, then what kind of a heel are you? Come on. And remember, Colby and I didn't get off on the right foot, but then we really, I think, had a good thing going. But if you're going to play the heel and be sensitive to criticism, then are you really a heel? And then what about this clip that emerges of, him telling Kamaru, I'm just trying to sell it. Here's the thing, guys. Like, if you're going to play the heel, let me give you a little pro wrestling tip. When I don't know, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, if Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, John Cena, CM Punk, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, on and on it goes. If they have beef, real or not, on camera, in the ring, they sure as heck aren't having those conversations in the middle of the cage. Now, of course it's different, but if you're going to take a page out of pro wrestling and sell things and work things, because that's what it is, and then in the ring, while you're mic'd up, while there's 1,000 mics and people there, you're going to have those conversations. Save it for the back, because guess what? It only hurts your credibility when you walk to the press conference 20 minutes later and then go rag on the guy. Or do an interview a week later and then go rag on the guy and say you didn't mean it. Just save that for the back. Stick to the gimmick. Now, if there was respect going in, whatever, but like, if you're then gonna say, go to the press conference and be like, you know what, that was all for show. I don't mean it. I love the guy, respect the guy, then fine. But you sure as heck can't say that and then 20 minutes later go to the press conference and rag on the guy. You can't do that. Your credibility is shot. So kayfabe is important. Stick to it. Do that in the back, in the locker room. Just my 2 cents. With the Kambosos Jr. win over the weekend, as an Australian, it was awesome. What moment in MMA is most similar in terms of build up the odds and entertainment? Wow. 13-1. I mean, Matt Serra was pretty damn big. Kind of a little Matt Serra action, right? Salut de Montréal. How do you go about watching fights? Is your wife a fight fan and does she watch with you? Do you put it on the TV or the computer? I pretty much watch it on the computer. If there's multiple things going on, I have multiple things up, and I just sit basically in that chair where I have the fake background and all that. I just sit there and watch it because then I have to do all the stuff afterwards, so it's easier. I haven't watched a fight on a TV in a very long time. And my wife will sometimes pop in, but it's a not very comfortable setup, and she's not a huge fan, so I don't really mind. But I don't do the multiple screens like GC. I just have all the little like players on the laptop and I watch it that way. Best setup? No, but it works for me because you can write, you can check in, your Twitter up, all that stuff. Salut encore de Montréal. As a new father, I wanted to know if you had any tips you could share or something you wish someone had told you before you became a father. Also, when are you coming back to Montreal? Hopefully in April for Passover. Would you consider doing a fan meetup there? Yeah, I would love to, but it's hard because like you have so many family members to see and friends, and you kind of just want to be in that mode. But one of these days, I would love to do something in Montreal. It would feel really fitting and mean a lot to me. As far as new father, I would just say to enjoy every moment, from the moment you find out that you're going to be a father to the final days as a single couple, if you will, with no kids, to the craziness at the hospital, to the first, trip back home. Like I would just really try to take it all in and enjoy it. Some of my favorite moments. I'll never forget one moment. My son, Oliver, who's 9 now, my oldest, was 5 days old. And I'll never forget, it was early May, maybe like May 4th, 5th. There was a Bellator card. I was watching it, I think on Spike. And he was sleeping in the bassinet next to me. And it was a beautiful spring Friday night in Brooklyn. And the windows were up. And I just was like looking at him and in the bassinet and being like, I can't believe I have a kid. I can't believe I'm a dad. And this is just so nice. It was just, it's like a moment, a feeling that stuck with me. Another one was my daughter, who's now 5, was maybe 6 days old, sleeping next to me in our bed, and the Cubs just won the World Series 2016. And I remember looking at her and being like, people have waited 100 years for this. You're 5 days old. You're obviously not watching this. But I'll never forget her tiny, tiny body right next to me while I'm watching the Cubs beat the Indians late night. That was the week of UFC 205, I believe. Yeah. So just appreciate those moments. Appreciate the kids. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't let the frustrations, consume you. Appreciate all of that stuff because it goes by really fast, and every step is great. Every milestone is great. Make a big deal out of the birthdays. Enjoy those moments. Appreciate the happy moments. Celebrate the happy moments, and just take it all in with a smile. I wish you the best. Who is the most famous person you have in your contacts? Wow, that's a tough one. I don't want to out them. What is the particular moment you point to in your professional career where you got the I made it feeling? There's been a lot. I mean, obviously doing the TV stuff was big. Doing the NBA stuff was big. Doing the in-ring stuff was big. Coming back and doing this show was big. Having this show where people come in studio is a big deal for me. I mean, there's been a lot. I feel very lucky. But I tell you what, I feel like there's more to do. I don't think I've officially made it. I haven't had that like, holy crap, put my feet up, hands behind my head, I am the man, I made it. I haven't felt that yet. The greatest piece of advice you've ever been given? Well, it wasn't given directly to me, but something that has stuck with me throughout my entire career is 80% of success is just showing up. And so early on, I just wanted to be everywhere, show up, work hard, be professional, and just be there. Say yes to everything, because then good things happen. You meet people. Helwani, I keep breaking the rules of this chain and getting mansplained by your loyals, and I just want to say that I'm loyal too. Thems were dark days when you were off the air. I went to some dark MMA pod places. So apologies in advance, but here are some repeat questions that haven't been answered. You're the man. Have you reached out to any boxing reporters to come on the show and talk about the brilliance of that Crawford fight a couple weeks ago? No, but I do love talking to the boxers, and I'd love to have more on. We might have a big one on next week. Why do some journalists only give credit in the comments, knowing it will get less recognition than in their initial tweets? You guys are smart, smarter than I thought. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's a weird thing to do, and I would never do it. Now, again, if you run out of characters, I get it. I get it. But that move afterwards is a weird one. What do you think of the format of the triangle added to the fights last week? I dug it. I dug it. I didn't mind it. Outside of combat sports, you comment on other sports, but not so much hockey. Do you actively watch and follow the sport? I'd say of the other sports, NBA #1, NFL #2, Bills. It's really Knicks, Bills, Jays, and Habs are together. When it was the Expos, it was Knicks, Bills, Expos, and depending on the season, I was all in on whichever team is playing. But yeah, hockey was always #4 for me, believe it or not, from Montreal. Hey, Ariel, my friend Justin and I are huge fans of your musical talent. We often run back the original MMA Hours on Fire Jam. Wow, MMA Hours on Fire. Can we expect a new original MMA Hour track from Thug Nose? If you want it, I'll do it. What's the best possible move for Kevin Lee? PFL, Triller, make that money. Why do you always announce your guests in reverse order? That's a great question, because then I end on the first guest and they're up first. All right, Ariel, I went to Sasabune this week. Pretty good recommendation. What's the next restaurant we're going to? Wow, you actually listened to me? God, I'd love to go to Sasabune. Okay, next restaurant. What is it? There's a Turkish restaurant on like 73rd and 2nd. God. Man. There it is. Ochomoko. Tell me where. Tell me where. Wow, I used to live right next to Greenpoint. OXOMOCO. OXOMACO. By the way, when you're talking to me, can they hear you or not? Okay. OXOMACO. That's Tucker's brother's Mexican restaurant. He's the sous chef there. This is Mike. Michelin star. Wow, sounds fantastic. Okay, is gas a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing. It's lit. Mike, next week we need a review in the comments here. Ochomoko in Greenpoint, let us know. Hey, Ariel, hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. We've been hearing a lot of names for Khamzat Chimaev's next opponent. Who are your top 3 most realistic opponents he could face? I mean, it's up in the air. Gunny, I'm down. Neil Magny, I'm down. Pick anyone. Just not Nate Diaz. Any update on what's going on with Anthony Rumble Johnson? Heard he's still very sick and future up in the air, but not COVID. What's up from ATL? Have you been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm? I didn't watch any of it. Haven't watched any of it. I feel like the show's run its course. It's been on too long. It's been on like freaking 20 years. Cheers from the 404. Shout out GC who made it to the big city. Shout out. Two more questions for you. This time fight related. Does Henry Cejudo finally give up on trying to have his return fight for a title and accept the fight? I think he'll fight again. What are the odds that we see Conor's return be against Dustin for the 4th time? Low. What is going on with the rumor that UFC 271 is going to be in Seattle? I've heard Seattle is being discussed, but I haven't heard it specifically for any specific show. But newish arena that they renovated where the Kraken play would make a lot of sense. One of my favorite cities, Seattle. UFC on Fox 5, I think, was there. Diaz Henderson and some others. DJ fought there. Great city. Love it. Last one from our good friend Christopher. My question is, how far is too far for an MMA show when it comes to ads? Have you seen the estimable Chael Sonnen hawking lords and ladies titles with ads on his show? What? It appears to be half pyramid scheme, half fraudulent microland grab, but there he is advertising for them. I don't know what that is. Is there a line here? I mean, the podcasts that I like out there that, you know, I listen to don't have a ton, but I get it. You got to make your money. You can fast forward, whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not the judge and jury. New podcast that I love right now, highly recommend. Wrestling with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s new wrestling podcast, former WWE creative team member. He pretty much sits there for 45 minutes and tells you old stories of his time working there. It's absolutely riveting. I couldn't recommend it enough. He's great at telling the stories. Go check it out. There's my rec for the day. And also check out Ocho Moco in Greenpoint. OXOMOCO. We almost blew it, but we saved the day. Go check it. I want some Ocho Moco right now, if I'm being honest. All right. Thank you to everyone who sent in questions. I appreciate you all very much. We've gone a little over here, but these are the things we have to do when you send in so many great questions. Everyone good? Everyone good. Al, you can hit my music. Yeah, my phone was buzzing this whole time. All right. All good in the hood. Wow, 38 texts. That's a lot of texts. I'm a very popular guy. Don't know if you know this. It's the only show where we'll shoot straight with you. We'll give you the goods. We'll give you the truth. We'll give you the biggest names in the sport. What more do you want? We might be coming after the boxers as well. I mean, look out, boxing media. We're coming after you too. Why not? We ain't scared. We ain't scared. In any event, it's time to call it a day. Thank you very much to everyone who stopped by today. Thank you very much to Calvin Cater. It's weird. I announced the guests backwards, but I thanked them forwards. I wonder why. I'm not sure. Thank you very much to Calvin Cater. Good luck to him on January 15th. Good luck to Rob Font on Saturday against Jose Aldo. Thank you very much to Kevin Lee. Sorry to hear what happened, but appreciate him coming on, especially before the flight, and can't wait to see where he lands next. Thank you very much to Sergio Pettis. Good luck to him on Friday against Kyoji Hiraguchi. Thank you very much to Gunnar Nelson. Great stuff. Great to connect with him. Once again, good luck to Brad Riddell. Big fight for him this Saturday against Rafael Fiziev. Hey, Mallory Martin going to walk out to it? We'll find out. Thank you very much to RDA Rafael Dos Anjos for stopping by. Great stuff for him. Thanks to the crew. Thanks to all of you. Back on Monday, same time and place until I say peace. I'm out of here.